Hey y'all, this is your girl BMORE and welcome to the Dummies Cauldron.
Hey, this is your girl BMORE, and you are listening to the Dummies Cauldron. So, today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Cancer. It will be occurring on June 25th around 6:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. At least I think so. But this new moon is very, very interesting. If you paid attention to my weekly roundup, I discussed that this week we're going to be seeing some issues around the idea of tenacity versus talent this month. And what does that actually mean? We also have it this week, and we see it in this new moon, that the sun is now in Cancer. And so a lot of our feelings are very much so attached to our ego and themes related to Cancer. So we see a conjunction of the sun, the moon, and Jupiter, and we have Mercury all in Cancer. So our feelings, our emotional determination, and how generous we are, and also our mental receptivity are all connected. This month, we will be more curious. There will be a lot of ego attached to opinions and communications and meetings and routines, interviews, curious about contracts. There may be also mechanical devices and a lot of paperwork that kind of goes on. So we are more busier now than ever. This can kind of make for a very happy, easygoing mood. You're knowledgeable on specific topics. We can receive great news from afar in legal or educational matters. We can get favors now. We can have luck with women and luck in the public. Imagination is high, intuition is high, and so is our speech. We like the sound of our voice. We like to communicate, and we have more intellectual awareness. We can also be sensitive to others' reactions. And there are a lot of centering themes around domestic life and health matters. Here, we also have this placement sextile Mars, and Mars right now is currently in Virgo. And Mars in Virgo can imply forms of discipline or a highly skilled class or very detailed skilled labor or service. Okay, so what happens when we have Virgo and we have Cancer making positive aspects to one another? Well, we have an overall desire to achieve, to succeed, but we can overdo it. We have to learn this month to be measured, and we can gain a lot of honor and renown, but we can also have a lot of integrity. But we also have to put the brakes on certain things because law is mixed up into this, management, sports, and politics. Our confidence is high, and so is leadership. So this can be a good time to brainstorm, get some projects moving. Good for physical activity, but we will have to watch our speeding. And because although we're more optimistic, happy, etc., confident, tolerant, we're very loyal, and this could be really good for conflict resolution depending on the person, going after the goals that we need to, having tactful self-promotion, talking about yourself in a very tactful and intentional way, not trying to be too self-centered or braggadocious. But this creates a very practical nature. But there is a little bit of danger of being too pushy and trying to project what we want or want people to do out onto others. We're sharp. Excuse me. We're sharp and we instantly grasp facts and situations. It doesn't even matter if people go out of their way to explain things, because remember, Mars is in a Mercury sign. So since Mars is the planet of skill, And Mercury is a planet of resource and adaptability. We're in a space where it's very easy for us to pick up on things and to learn things, grasp situations and concepts easier. This is also really great for customer service, meetings, selling. But there is also an irritability because Mars still has some irritability. It deals with fighting, warfare, action. There's still some level of irritability. When misunderstood, we take it more personally and we feel like it's an attack. Okay? So just because every time I have a Mars and Mercury person, whether Mars and Mercury is conjunct in Virgo, Gemini, etc., or in just positive aspect with one another, I often have to tell them, just because you can learn things quickly and you grasp things quickly, other people, they might not. So we can't get super frustrated just because people aren't registering things that you're saying as quickly or learning in the rates and speeds in which you are learning. Because guess what? Everyone has their own special little stuff in their chart, and just as quickly you can pick this up. Guess what? It's probably something that they got that you can't pick up. They're in their own little world and stuff like that. So we have to learn to sometimes give other people grace. Right? Now the other thing is we do have Neptune and Saturn conjunct. And so this is what I was talking about. I did a Patreon stream, and Neptune and Saturn, when they are together, they create an interesting dynamic. Neptune is about radical, like a form of radical belief, or almost like radical revision, where Saturn is about invention and somehow about people trying to establish, because Saturn is reality or what is real, and Neptune is what has yet to be established. And so people are trying to establish a form of radical reality that is not there. And I know it sounds weird to say all of that together, but it's not there. And so all of this stuff is squaring the sun and moon. So like this might even show up as like gaslighting, people trying to make you feel or project something like some radical idea onto you, or like down your throat. So here we have to really guard against the idea of confusion, existentialism, like where are we going in life? Because the sun is also squaring Neptune. So we're very confused. I did talk about that this week during the weekly roundup. And we really have to guard against confusion and existentialism. We feel a little bit out of sorts at this moment because the sun gives us inner vision, and Neptune can kind of, in this hard positioning to the sun, make us forget what the vision is or confuse us. Now sometimes this extends to people. So we start to lose direction, we start to lose our aims and the goals that we have. That's why I told you guys this week, it's very important that we remember what our values are. The other thing is, some of the distraction or the confusion can also be in forms of deception, disappointments, disillusionment. So something we thought was real, something we thought made sense, doesn't make sense, and maybe our feelings are hurt about behind it. Some of us are lying or deluding ourselves about certain things. Some people are the liars. This is also a good time for creativity and intuition. We can also use our intuition to dispel some of these types of deceptions and illusions that we're facing. This week we are, well, really not just this week, this month, we are sensitive to to different people and environments. And any comment or action can really trigger extreme emotional responses at this time. I really would recommend people not to really jump to conclusions because remember, guys, there is an air of confusion that kind of can bubble up at this time, and it's very easy to misinterpret what people say and what they do. Yes, is there an increased level of, one can say, like perceptiveness that maybe can go into like what people say like psychism? Yes, but we do have some challenges this month. Like it may or may not be real. We may or not be blocking reality properly. We may also be attached to daydreams and escapism versus actually doing the real work. We can be idealist. We can cling to false hopes and promises, either from ourselves or other people. I really would recommend for people to help people with caution because we may attract users this month. If you feel it on your heart to help someone, actually help people who actually need help, like with a little vetting. But also there are a lot of charities out there. You can also donate things anonymously. The other thing is our faith, regardless of whatever your faith is, it's an asset at this time. Okay? So if you feel confused, you feel all over the place, use your sense of faith because it becomes an asset. This month, our vitality is lower, so we don't have as much energy to tend to things or to do things as much as possible. We can also like get ill, like literally sick. We can have aches and pains, dental issues, lowered appetite, you name it. There can also be delays and stumbling blocks, which can increase frustration. I recommend for people to persevere. Use this time to plan and organize. This is also good for solo work versus teamwork. Also because there's also a thing where there could be issues with authority. The other thing is because there's stumbling blocks and delays, sometimes the stumbling blocks and delays can come from other people. So solo work and individual work can be beneficial under this transit. And also because some people are outright just deceptive. So working by yourself could be a pro this month. We also have it where maybe we can feel down in the dumps. We talked about the low energy, low vitality, but also just the pessimism. We often feel like the weight of responsibility, whether real or perceived, is on our shoulders. There's a definite chip on the shoulder, and we feel like everything is an uphill battle, which may or may not be true. We have to learn how to deal with restrictions and conservatism. Learn to operate within the structures that you already have or what is placed on you. So if you don't like something at your job, you don't like something at your school or whatever is going on, we have to operate within existing structures and regulations that are already there. This is not a time to try to jump out of the window, do something different in a sense of like outside of the norm. Like I said, this is a better transit for planning and organizing because the results will yield better down the road. The results bear fruit down the road. But if you can be disciplined and have some boundaries with yourself, not run to escapism, hide from yourself from the parts that are difficult for you to manage, because everyone has done that before. There's parts of ourselves where it's hard to manage. We're on a learning curve. We're trying to get to know ourselves and our relationship with ourselves. And maybe we've hid or we've dodged responsibilities that were for us to manage and to take care of ourselves because it was just hard in the moment. And for some people, it's easier to show up for other people than to show up for ourselves. Even though it's tempting to pick up and run or do all this other stuff because we think this will make the best sense, I'm telling you, it won't, because the way Neptune is set up, I am telling you, Neptune is going to retrograde back into Pisces, which I will talk about in a whole separate video, talking about all the outer planets with Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, because Uranus is about to jump right into Gemini, and that will be the last thing. And I'll put Jupiter in a whole different video. Jupiter and Cancer is going to be a different video that I will talk about. But even though it makes sense, the sun is going to move at the end of July. The sun will move into Leo, right? From this point in this week, when the sun went into Cancer to the end of July, you're going to think that shit really makes sense. You are really going to think that, you know, you really like, I really ate, I nailed it, like I did the thing. Okay, boo. But wait till that sun jump into Leo and you have more clarity. You're going to realize that you did not nail it. Especially if you're jumping out the window, no parachute, no plan. And with all the escapism, excuses, self-delusion. That's why I said just stick to 3 things that you can do this month that is manageable. Keep it simple, so that way you're more likely to do it. Don't be extra. I know we have a lot of extra people. They very fly, they're very extra, okay? But I need y'all not to be so extra this month, because this month is not set up to deal with it, because we already have stumbling blocks, we already have delays, we're tired. New endeavors might reach a hiccup this month, so just regroup and organize. Get stuff, set things up for you to be successful, so that way when the sun leaves out and on his way out going into Leo, we're not sitting there like, man, I really wish I handled all of that differently when I had the opportunity to. And like I said before, even if you're unsatisfied and you try to change your job or something, it still won't fix whatever the issues actually are. Like I said, that's why I said just try to work in whatever restrictions you have, whatever they are, and make the best of your situation. And you'll yield the results from that. This month we also have Lilith positively aspecting the sun, moon, and Jupiter. Here with Lilith trining the moon, we see powerful happiness, being able to overcome family issues with the mother. This is a glamorous personality, being seen as a sex symbol, bitchiness, possibly feelings, possibly even, I'll be honest, maybe even getting over like certain relationships and love affairs that maybe may not be the best. So like situationships, maybe even people being side pieces, because Lilith can kind of go into that. But your taboo form of self-expression, you accept yourself. So you don't really feel any type of way about other people not accepting you. Okay, so we get into contentment. We're happy now. We also see this with good emotional control, being able to win over the public, being able to win over other women, mother, being able to obtain food, shelter, being also able to outsmart issues or competitors or rivals. This is a good time to pause and reset. And maybe we have an unknown inner strength or determination that we did not know that we had before. We are more able to step into our form of authenticity in our identity, and we understand who we are, but it didn't necessarily come from a place of acceptance at first. It's kind of like also in spite of whatever we're going through, we have more authenticity. So like looking back over everything that you kind of been through, there's a level of authenticity, a level of strong sense of self that came through overcoming certain situations. We're able to understand the hidden or the missing parts of ourselves. And we may even get rewarded or recognized for our sex appeal or smart, catty replies, taboo forms of self-expression, forms of creativity. We can conquer rejection, shame. We also see that maybe because the way Lilith deals with children, whether they're wanted or not, maybe we're able to interact with, it's kind of interesting, but unwanted children from either like the mother or the father, and being able to overcome that. Maybe these are like, it's weird because it can articulate into like unwanted children who are wanted. Not getting into that can of worms, but you know. But basically, we are able to make peace with complicated circumstances. And this gives us the idea of winning, survival. You get recognized for being overlooked. Somebody tries to ignore you and people can see like, hey, you went through everybody else and I saw you try to like play Amanda. She's right there. We also see this positively aspect Jupiter. So we can be attracted to our husband, our teachers. Maybe we see them as being more attractive. People who have strong principles and they are very duty bound. They have like a level of devotion. That's seen as more attractive now. You also can get more luck in complicated circumstances. And sometimes this even can show up as money. Principles or the law somehow changed. And usually what is taboo, or usually the change can be taboo, but it helps to alleviate some shame and guilt. I know that sounds weird, but principles or law, like your self principles or literally the law, changed. Usually the change is possibly taboo, but it does alleviate shame or guilt. We are more creative. There again, we're seeing the conception of creativity, and this conception comes, what is born is a sense of purpose, because Jupiter gives us purpose. Whether it comes mysteriously to you or via the idea of what your purpose is, via the idea of trying to get your lick back, sex, revolt. It might come to you at night. You get more inspired at night. Obsessions. Also, Jupiter deals with long-term goals or the payoff. So maybe we're inspired by our purpose, about what our long-term goals are. Generosity, our ideals, or even morality. What is the right thing to do? Our principles. Sometimes it's the law, religion. Sometimes it's just a quest. You know, you want to go get a slice of pizza at 3 a.m. Travel. Also finding deeper meanings into things. Also, astrology can give you purpose at this time. Freedom. The idea of freedom, you feel like, can give you a sense of purpose. Tolerance. Maybe things that are purple. Certain animals can also feel like you can get purpose. So you can maybe feel like you get purpose from horses, dogs, bats, owls, etc. Because Aquarius is in Pluto right now and it's retrograded. It is 8 signs away from Cancer. So we can have issues with Pluto right now because this new moon is also in Cancer. So there could be a desire to investigate our awakenings, what our truths are. There can be a desire awakening around groups, our ideals, and trying to make progress. This can also center around finances, control, and willpower. How in control are you? We feel the need to reform or destroy or hide. All of this may stem from habits, our family dynamics, issues with mom or the mother, food, or like just the past in general. And so we have the past now clashing with the future. Mercury is opposed Pluto during this new moon. And because Mercury is in Cancer and it opens our level of receptivity, Pluto is a reformer and it's in Aquarius. So it allows us to be awakened that there is a revelation. We see the truth. So we're at odds with being open to the truth. There is fine lines between intensity and obsession. Concentration, research, and study are important now. But we do have to understand what is like the difference between I'm just really invested, I'm researching, and I'm really like obsessed. I have tunnel vision for this particular topic and nothing can really break it. We have to avoid people with power and control issues. And sometimes it can come from yourself. But if you know that someone is showing control problems, you should probably avoid them. This is also a poor time to share your opinions. They will not be viewed well. And you may have people trying to control your opinions as well. All the more to keep them to yourself. There can be issues with authority figures. We see the uptick of manipulation and depression. This is a good transit to use for self-programming. Our willpower is strong here, and so is our self-discovery. We can see more of an intrigue with our ancestors or graves, flowers, pets, or donating certain things to animals or our ancestors, because we're more open to the other realm and spiritual growth. We can get healing from diseases, healing our speeches, childhood wounds, intellect, our life's calling, and maybe education. You may have exchange or business that heals. You get healing from doing business, or you go to a business that heals. We also can see that maybe certain trends that pop up in the collective consciousness, maybe through social media, etc., they can help solve our problem. We are also free from psychic and mental disturbances. We know what is hot. We know what is current. We know what people are into. We have a strong planning and organizational urge now. This is great for concentration and being able to make informed decisions. Again, like I said, we can make gains, especially in your career, but it will not be now. It will probably be later. And if you cannot stick to the facts, I would really recommend you push serious discussions back. There is a possibility of being able to have lighter conversations now with like certain forms of like dark humor, or just making heavier conversations more lighter in general. Because our creativity and imagination is high, we can actually sense what other people are thinking and not saying. And this is good for self-exploration, learning things, journaling, and figuring out these stuff in a very much so introspective way. Now, the caveat is we can have misunderstandings and issues with processing and engaging with information. This can come from a lack of attention. Maybe we just don't have enough time. We can't explain what we're seeing in the information. So there's a lack of comprehension. Or maybe there's a lack of vocabulary. We also have an issue connecting it to prior knowledge and experiences, which can create new inventions, new experiences, which leads to even more wisdom. Sometimes the issue can be that we can't or won't rehearse, like practice. We can't or won't elaborate, organize, explain to ourselves, or apply this in an external way or like an everyday function. Bottom line, we have not retained or understood or learned anything, and there's gonna be issues with our memory. So we have to make sure whatever we're learning or actively trying to process or heal with ourselves, that we understand what the problem was to begin with. But there could be some problems with either thinking about what we went through to process some of these wounds, because maybe we're like, what actually happened? Or we just really feel like we just can't connect with it. Whatever the reason can be that I read about before. We are more spontaneous now, and we're more prone to teamwork, and we can gain support. So we can get our friends together, we can network, we can link up with maybe like some people's older siblings. They can just do stuff with them. But overall, we want to connect with people in a mentally stimulating way and do things that are very unique. Overall, this is like a really good transit for, like I said, meeting people, being insightful and creative, and planning. You can get organized and all the other stuff. It'll lead to more positive results long term. But don't have anyone deceive you or get you into a lot of shenanigans. Use your intuition for actually peeping what is going on with you. Slow down and see what's going on with you. Okay. All right, guys. So this is the end of the video. So the next video, I will be doing all the risings for the new moon in Cancer. All right. Y'all stay safe. I love you. Bye.